We live in a time where entertainment is everywhere, all the time. So why does it feel like nothing actually sticks anymore? Welcome back to Catalyst Corner. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
We talk pop culture, fandoms, and the business behind them. Not all hype, not all hate, just honest takes. We run a small creative business, so we're not just fans, we're watching how the machine actually works. So let's get into the breakdown today. We're going to call this Why Does Everything Feel Disposable Now? And the reason I wanted to talk about this with you before we get into it is the new 007 game just came out.
Okay.
First Light. And I've been playing it.
Oh, have you? Okay.
I have. And it's great. It's great. It's really, really good. It feels like a James Bond movie, right?
Okay, yeah. I just heard
ways.
about this today for the first time, so I'm not too familiar with it.
But it's good.
Okay.
Okay. It feels like a James Bond game. The gameplay is relatively fun. The story so far is engaging, as much as a James Bond is going to grab you.
Sure.
So, but it got me thinking that, you know, this stuff doesn't sort of hold the weight that it used to.
Sure.
And I was like, all right, I think for today's cast, I want to talk about how a lot of media feels very disposable now. Mm-hmm. So I think the first point I want to talk about is kind of the content flood.
Okay.
So there's just too much stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you have streaming platforms that are constantly releasing new movies, new shows. We have spin-offs of shows, documentaries. They have their own originals. And it seems like the algorithm rewards content more than the quality of the content.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, you know, for example, I just read an article today, right? So they had the Big Bang Theory a while back, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hugely popular syndicated television show, right?
Yeah.
Same level as like a Friends or not same quality-wise,
Seinfeld,
but success-wise,
Friends,
it's one of those big, 11 seasons, 24 episode a season, cranking it out.
Yeah.
And then they did a spin-off for young Sheldon, right?
Right.
And then they did another spin-off for the Sheldon's brother, okay? And now they're doing another spin-off about the fucking guy who runs the comic book shop.
Yep.
And it's just like, what?
Right.
But, you know, you're talking about 3 spin-offs from something that was already incredibly successful.
Right, but that's what happens, because when it becomes successful, the characters become like family. You know what I mean?
Sure, which is why you get 11 seasons and it goes into syndication and, you know, but again, because cable isn't what it was, you know, syndication really isn't the moneymaker that it used to be.
No, but, you know, the thing is, it's easier to create something out of a known property with an already existing world than trying to create everything from scratch.
Sure, I don't disagree with that.
And it's a lazy way to go about doing it, unfortunately.
Here's my thought process on that, right? You can have a spinoff. It can work. I mean, look at House of Dragons, right?
Sure.
So it can work, and arguably the content can be as good or better than what you put out, right? And even Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, right? That's another one that people are really into.
Right.
It's a lot shorter. It doesn't have as long of a runway either. Like they're not planning on 10 seasons of that or anything. But it, you know, Knights of the Seven Kingdoms is kind of a prequel sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? I guess my point is that the fucking comic book store guy from Big Bang Theory, like,
but
you can only milk a franchise so far.
But here's the problem that these studios don't understand is they think because a character becomes popular that they can then spin that character off, right, and do its own thing. But what they fail to recognize is that character is popular because they're playing off the other characters, A, and B, they're only getting a small amount of that character and what that character does in the show, right? So even if it's like, okay, it's funny, but there's a point where it get annoying. Thankfully, he's not on or she's not on the show enough where that happens. Now that you've taken that character and made it where they're the main focal point, A, all of the, that annoyance is now going to come through, and B, you don't have those other main characters to play off of anymore. And now if that character's not strong and the supporting characters aren't strong, that's why a lot of these spin-offs don't work.
Right. It's like, do we actually like this character, or do we like how they interact with our main characters?
And that's what the studios fail to understand is it's a specific role that they fill within the show, not that character needs to be fleshed out for a half hour or an hour on a weekly basis.
Right. And don't get it twisted. I'm happy for the guy. Like, that's probably a great deal that he's landed.
Sure.
I just think that it's I think you can only stretch something so far. And I think with like Game of Thrones, for example, I don't think if you kept releasing shows that the people will still show up. I think Knights of the Seven Kingdom is probably as far as you can take it. That being said, it's a fantasy world. You do have a little wiggle room in that regard, because you can kind of tell isolated stories within that fantasy world. But in something like The Big Bang Theory, it's supposed to be our reality, and you got your 11 seasons, you got whatever amount of seasons you got out of young Sheldon. You're trying to milk the young Sheldon thing because people like the brother, so you're telling that story now. Okay, but this Stewart thing, Stewart Saves the World, or whatever the fuck they're calling it, that to me is such a stretch.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of those things where you might get a boost from Big Bang being on the title card initially, but I cannot imagine an audience sticks around for something like that.
Well, what happens is the audience that really liked The Big Bang Theory moves on to something else, and the younger generation doesn't care, and they're not going to watch it because they have no interest in that property. So you have a very limited audience. Yeah, you'll go back every once in a while, and if you were a fan of Big Bang Theory, you'll go back and revisit it if there's nothing else on. Like, hey, I remember that. I really enjoyed that show. I haven't seen it in a while. I'm going to go watch. But you're not going to stick with it.
Comfort shows, right? Like, I liked Friends, I'll watch Friends.
Right, but you're never going to stick in that world forever. You've moved on because the show's ended. You know what I mean? And you might catch it on streaming here and there, but you're not going to continually watch things that are related. Now, the Game of Thrones things is a little bit different because, you're telling... That world is a little bit larger, right? I mean, you can tell many different stories within that world.
And on top of that, the stories that you're telling aren't really related to the characters of sort of the main property.
Right. I mean,
it might be ancestors. It could be a prequel, things like that.
They're connected, but loosely connected. But
you have a little bit more flexibility with that, right? I just think it's very strange that, at this point, we're going into our fourth Big Bang show.
Right.
And, I'm sure the Suits would argue, like, hey, fuck you, it all made a ton of money. But at the same time, it runs into that thing that kind of brings up the main point that, it stops being entertainment and it starts becoming inventory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just this, we need content. Doesn't matter what the content is. Doesn't matter what the quality of content is. Algorithm demands content. We release content.
Yeah. And that's for your social platforms as well. Same thing. The algorithm wants the same thing. It wants content. It wants, 7 posts a day. Doesn't matter what those posts are. Doesn't matter the quality of those posts. The algorithm wants you to engage X amount of times per day for you to get featured. Same thing with the streaming. The algorithm is happy if you're churning content. They don't differentiating between good or bad. They want constant feed of content.
So that's I think the first point as far as why things feel disposable.
Yeah.
The second point I would say is that social media speeds everything up.
Oh, sure.
So in its infancy, right, what social media and the internet used to do was it would extend fandoms. It would allow you to connect with people that maybe you couldn't have the water cooler talk, or the property was too obscure.
Right.
And you could find the people and talk out your theories and sort of extend that sort of, fandom, right? Now it burns through it.
Right.
So what'll happen is a property will come out. You'll get memes right away.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? People will start memeing the shit out of it. The show trends for 48 hours max.
Yep.
Max. And then it disappears. Squid Game.
Yep.
Right?
No, you don't ever hear. You never heard a thing about season 2.
No.
Nothing. As much as you heard about season 1, that's as little as you heard about season 2.
Here's another perfect example. Wednesday.
Yeah, nothing.
And that's the thing is I think where the people in charge fail to, or maybe it's not fail, maybe they're between a rock and a hard place, but technology, communication, the way that things are posted online is moving so fast now that the difference between when Wednesday season 1 came out and when Wednesday season 2 came out is astronomical. Now, if I'm in the creative space and have the ability to make decisions, I'm going, wait a minute. It took us 3+ years to release season 2 of Wednesday, right? In that 3 years, the entire landscape of how people interact with our content has changed. And it's still the same streaming service.
Right.
But it doesn't have the same bite that it did 3 years ago.
Right.
So now I have to go, I don't think we can afford to wait another 3 years to release season 3 because who knows what it's going to be. If it's this bad now, it's only going to evolve even more.
And that's in any medium, right? I mean, you could talk about streaming, you could talk about movie franchises, you can talk about comic books, right? The problem is that if you make the consumer wait so long, and when it finally comes out, if it's not 10 times better than that original, people are out. Because you've made them wait too long. The expectation and the anticipation is built up so great that anything that isn't just blown away, like you mentioned how One Piece season 2 you feel is better possibly than season 1.
Absolutely.
On par, at worst, on par or better, right? So that's great. That's exactly what needs to happen. But if if you have to wait 3 years and then Wednesday season 2 comes out and it's not as good as season 1, or you know what I mean, then people are like, I waited for this. Like, why are you making me wait 3 years to give me a subpar product?
But we saw it happen with Stranger Things, right? They made everybody wait 3 or 4 years for the fucking final season, and it had its moment. It had its moment day of. And then it vanished into obscurity.
Yep.
And I think that's really I think they're aware that the cycle has changed, because if you look at things, advertising has changed, right? We're not, at least in my bubble, I don't feel like I'm inundated with ads for hyped up stuff.
Sure.
I've seen a little bit of Spider-Man Brand New Day stuff, but it's not.
No, there hasn't been much of it.
Right. That's my point, is that 5 years ago, it would have been fucking
in
everywhere.
your face,
it would have
every
been
moment.
everywhere. And we're not seeing that anymore. And I think another thing that's interesting, is that for the Spider-Man Brand New Day, we'll just use that as an example, right? That movie's set to release, what, in July?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a month and some change away. 5 or 10 years ago, Spider-Man Brand New Day would have already had McDonald's Happy Meal shit going.
Absolutely.
And if you
absolutely,
if you look at what McDonald's Happy Meals are kind of pushing right now, it's properties that have already proven themselves. 6 months ago, we had K-pop Demon Hunters, which was already out for a year and a half and nominated for an Oscar. So even, again, you have to look at the cultural reach of these things. Even the fucking fast food chains aren't they're not taking the risks to push the toys.
Nope.
Before the product is successful.
No,
so you're not building the hype, and I understand, because again, I just don't think they know what to do at this point. I don't think they have, I think social media and what it's done sort of to content, they don't before they'd be like, this is going to be a hit. We know this is going to be a hit. I don't think they know now.
Right. Let me give you a perfect example. In another week, Masters of the Universe comes out. I do not see any merchandise where I've gone.
No.
The only place that I know of that's doing anything is Denny's with that He-Man meal.
Right, but fucking Denny's?
Well,
like Denny's is your
don't
fucking...
shit on it, because I went and I had it.
No, hear me out, though. I'm not shitting on Denny's, but my point is like...
But that's
Denny's isn't known for their their partnerships.
But that's the problem. There is no McDonald's or Burger King
meal. How are there not fucking Happy Meals with He-Man toys?
You go to Walmart. There is no gigantic He-Man displays. There's not merchandise all over the place with shirts or what have you.
The thing is that to give these things any legs, shit has to synchronize. You have to hit, the toys have to come out right before the movies.
Yep.
The movie has to be a success, and then the toys blow up, or the Happy Meals get bought, whatever it is. But they have to synchronize like that.
Right.
Even the marketing for Masters of the Universe is shitty. I've seen some very lazy TikToks that they've posted.
Yep.
Right? And it's like... they're trying to capitalize on the He-Man meme, right?
Yep.
But it's just lazy.
Right. You should have the toy store shelves stocked so that when the movie comes out, if it hits with kids, they're going to go from the movie theater to the store to buy those action figures. That's how it always worked.
Right.
And now
but
it doesn't work that way.
What it is I think that, again, with the growth of social media and the way that people interact with it online and the leaks and everything that come with online, they got their wings clipped.
Sure.
Okay, and they've never had their wings clipped before. They've never been knocked down, and they got knocked down, and they don't know how to react.
Right.
And they're reacting out of fear instead of going, this is a property we backed that we believe in, and part of that might just be the ballooning budgets, right? Part of it might just be, it used to cost us $100 million, now it's $300 million. But if you don't synergize that stuff, if I'm not seeing billboards and I'm not seeing shit on buses and I'm not seeing shit at the McDonald's drive-through, then it's not in my mind, and because I don't have cable anymore, so I'm not getting that constant reminder that I have to go watch this.
Right, but that's where your advertising then should be spent on the social media platforms, where you're getting hit with those ads as you're scrolling through or what have you. You should that stuff needs to be in your face constantly to remind you that A, it exists, and B, when it's coming out for you to go and view it.
And C, you should be excited about it.
Right, you should be excited about it, especially if it's a property that you care about, and it's some, or, even if you don't, like, again, to me, Master of the Universe, yes, that's a property that I grew up with, that I'm very excited about. I may actually go to the movie theater for that one. Maybe. But it should also be for younger generations to say, that looks cool. Mom and Dad, take me to go see that. Like what we used to do. If we saw something cool on TV being advertised for something coming out, or if it's a property that was a cartoon that they're making into live action, and you have a love for that property, you will guarantee having your parents take you to go see it. We don't have, there are some Disney, cartoon animation movies that will have that effect to a certain degree, where they get the kids to go out and see it. That's why some of them hit the $1 billion. But these things should be happening on a more regular basis. There should be so much more excitement for these things, and there's not. People just like, if I catch it, I catch it. There's no real fear, and we've talked about this before. There's no fear of missing anything anymore.
Well, I think another issue that they run into is, there's not really a centralized spot to advertise anymore. On cable, you release your trailers on cable. You could go see it in theaters in 5 days, right?
Which they still have that for people that have cable. It's still there.
But they need to pivot. They should be going hard on the TikTok campaigns. They should go hard on the YouTube campaigns.
Right.
And you have to do more guerrilla marketing. You have to get influencers to make He-Man swords and things like that, and get that content churning before it comes out. Not to beat a dead horse, but even when One Piece came out, right? So One Piece Season 1 was a home run. One Piece Season 2 comes out, and weeks after it comes out, Popeye's fucking Chicken does a marketing thing with them. What? That's who you first of all, that's who you're going to saddle your horse to. Nothing wrong with Popeye's Chicken, but they're not exactly known for fucking Happy Meals.
Right.
And two, it's weeks. It's over. It's weeks after the fucking show came out. Everybody that wanted to see it already got the hype out of their system.
Right.
It's over.
Right. But, the thing, too, is they have to... But this is the problem, and this is the problem that Disney is facing right now with The Mandalorian and Grogu, right? When you hire these influencers, people aren't going to take them seriously when, they're gushing over something that isn't going to live up to that hype, right? That's part of the problem. What you should be...
Right, you have to be smarter about who you hire and how they're communicating.
But I think you have... But my thing is, I think you have to be marketing the brand, not the particular... Like, you don't sit there and say how great The Mandalorian is, or the Mandalorian Grogu movie is, right? Because there's no evidence to support what you're saying. But if you talk about how great Star Wars is, and you talk about, this movie lives in this universe and what this, like if you build up the brand around it.
You didn't hear anybody, Star Wars is back, baby.
Right.
None of that. It was just how fun and exciting and great the Mando and Grogu movie is.
And, and obviously the results are, it's a massive flop. But that's back to the influencers are getting paid to absolutely wet themselves over how great this is, and everybody sees right through that. No one believes it. No, everybody knows they're paid influencers,
right? Because the thing
to
is,
do what they're doing.
But the thing is that the thing that made the influencers popular at the beginning was their authenticity,
right?
And so when you ask these people who aren't media trained and everything to gush, it's going to come across as disingenuous.
Right, and that's exactly the way it comes across.
Right.
And everybody calls it out.
Right.
And that becomes a thing where, everybody, because that's what happened. They did that promotion with Pedro Pascal at Disneyland, and everybody, and as soon as it hit the social media platforms, everybody was like, those are influencers. I know who that is. They named them off, and everybody was like, "Yep, fuck you, Disney. You're paying for, you're just paying people to lie about, how good your product is," and that becomes disingenuous, and people go the other way.
So here's a perfect example of how I think you can utilize influencers / content creators in the grand scheme of marketing things. Mm-hmm. So there are channels out there that that it's not new at this point. I believe it was last year that Doom game came out, mm-hmm. right? And what Bethesda and the Doom team decided to do was they would hire influencers that had a large audience, right? And they had one influencer create a statue of the Doom guy.
Okay.
Cool. That's an hour video. And if the game hits, you're going to go back to that and go, I'm fucking into that right now.
Mm-hmm.
They hired someone to make the shield, so they made the shield. They hired someone to make a life-size version of the armor. So you're getting, instead of just having talking heads gush over how good the game was, the game is where the strength is, and then look at all this cool shit that is happening because of the game, mm-hmm. in tandem with the game, and then people are going, whoa, this is rad. This is the type of content I want to see. Instead of inviting a bunch of fucking influencers to Disneyland to gush unauthentically, you're getting authentic content from people that are creators anyway.
Right.
Have someone make a Mando helmet. Have someone make a little baby Yoda. Have someone make a fucking lightsaber because it ties into Star Wars.
But on the flip side of that, and I'm in full agreement with you, but the creators that you choose have to be known for having a love of that property. If all of a sudden you're just picking these influencers to gush about your product, and everybody's like, I watched that influencer, they never talk about that product. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
So I guess my point is it kind of takes that pressure off, right? Because if you have a creator that's constantly putting out, again, the guy that got to sculpt the Doom sculpture, right? He sculpts all sorts of pop culture shit. It's always top tier shit.
Right.
So if you're getting someone that's talented in their field and is right. But here's the caveat that goes with that is that if he doesn't like the property, he's going to say no.
Right.
Because he's not going to take the fucking time to sculpt it, even if he's getting a payday, because there's 10 other fucking things he can be working on that will be equal or greater than.
Right, but he's still authentic in the fact that he makes those models.
Right, that's
he's
going to
make a model for this particular property.
Is that you don't have to get, for something like that, you don't have to get a diehard fan.
No.
You just need to get someone that is a master at what they do and likes the property enough that they're willing to commit the hours to do it. And
right.
And I don't see it super often, but when it happens, it works because generally the content comes out either right on release or right before release. Mm-hmm. So you're building your hype meter there.
Right.
You're getting something that you can't manufacture in a lab. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it shows some goodwill towards, not being so rigid about copyright and IP that you're letting relatively small people get their hands on a property that they wouldn't otherwise be able to legally produce with. So I think that's something that, needs to continue, and I think that's a great way of sort of guerrilla marketing things. But again, I think as social media has evolved, they just don't know what to do. And with the speed that everything moves, it just kills the hype once, it's like a shotgun blast and then it's over.
Yeah, and they don't know how to market for the 22nd century.
Right. So the third point for why everything feels disposable here is streaming has killed scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it used to work is you would go see a movie, you would wait 9 months, and the DVD or VHS would come out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to rewatch it, which would bring the hype back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
With TV shows, they would come out once a week.
Yep.
And you'd wait at the water cooler, and you'd want to talk about it, and you could have that. Did you see Game of Thrones this week? Did you see, Boardwalk Empire or The Wire or any of that stuff?
Yep.
And you'd talk about the episode, and you'd formulate theories on the episode of where it's all going.
Mm-hmm.
Now with streaming, before we even get to that, I'll even go a step further. This applies to music too. The way it used to work is you had a band you liked, you could see them in concert, you could catch their shit on MTV, then you had to wait for the album drop, or you had to get lucky and hear something on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had mixtapes. Then we had CDs.
Yeah, well, I mean...
And then even when content became digital, you used to have to you either had to pay or you had to fucking go and download it illegally.
Yeah, they used to put out a song probably a month before the album would come out to get you hyped up for that album. And because if that song hit, right, you were waiting, anticipating. You were right there at the store on the day you find out it's going to drop, because there's 10, 11 more songs that you need to now hear from this band. But, that's all you could get. That was it. They had a specific marketing, how they went about doing it to build that anticipation, to build that fan base. And if everything just came out all at once, you're gonna get an initial big hit, and then it's gonna dissipate really quickly, which is exactly what's happening.
Right, and you're inundated with content, so it's like, if it's something you're waiting for, maybe you're excited for the wait, but then you see it, and then it's on to the next. Right? If you want to hear that song, every song in human history is available on streaming instantly.
Right.
So it's none of it is special anymore.
Nope.
Everything is available at all times, and none of it feels special. And I'm not hating on it, because I think as far as content goes, we're living it up. There's more content than you could watch in your lifetime. But there is a negative side to that, and part of what that is the oversaturation, the always available, the binge watching of TV shows. It strips away what made media special.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
In that there was a level of rarity to it, and now there's not. A Netflix show is as common as anything.
Right, but it's also the thing of, hey, I can spend a weekend and go through 5 shows in their entirety.
Right.
And when I'm done, I probably retain almost 0 of those 5 shows. I'll remember bits and pieces of each one of them.
Well, because you're not ruminating on any of it.
But none of it will last. None of it will really, really sit there with me. I'm just going to look for the next thing. And what and that's why you're not building up your fan bases like you used to, because people are just watching, and that's the thing, that they're watching it as content for their head. I'm going to fill my head with this content, and I'm going to move on to the next content. And, it's filling your head with content, but you're not capturing anything. You're not feeling anything. You're just taking it all in as quickly as possible so that you can say, I watch that, I watch that, I watch that. And, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? What does it mean to you? What type of fandom did you get out of that? And they're like, I don't really, I just watched it. I think it's okay.
Let's take that a step further, though, right? So, for example, right? Let's use The Witcher as a property. Mm-hmm. Because of the speed at which content is made, mm-hmm. and how much content is coming out and how much content is available, arguably The Witcher is a failure.
Sure.
Right? It's a beloved IP. It's had success in the literary world, and it's had incredible success in video games.
Yep.
And season 1 arguably had some great success. Mm-hmm. Right? If something to that caliber, a big fantasy world that has had success in 2 other forms of media, failed as hard as The Witcher failed 10, 15, 20 years ago, that would be a case study. Mm-hmm. You as a studio would go, how did we fuck this up? Where did we go wrong? What can we change in the future going forward? But because things move at a breakneck speed, because the content always has to come out, they fuck up. They just continue down the fuck-up path. They fuck up deeper and deeper into the Witcher seasons. The show's going to end. Nobody's going to care about it. Nobody cared about the last season.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to care about season 5, and nobody's going to talk about the Witcher television show going forward because they fucked up so royally.
Right, but here's the thing, right? To what you just said. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the studio would have a case study in how did we fuck up. Now, we didn't fuck up. The fans fucked up. Fuck you for not loving everything that we did. We're right, you're wrong. That's the attitude now of the studios. They don't look into themselves and say that they fucked up and what do they need to fix. They blame the fans for not accepting whatever type of garbage that they put out. And that's why they're not going to change, and that's why no one's going to care about The Witcher and no one's going to remember it other than it sucked. Because they never ever said we had something great, something that couldn't fail, and we failed.
Well, I think it's a multifaceted issue, right? I think one, these studios are almost victims of their own success.
Sure.
Right? So you're winning. People are buying the content you're churning out. You have some losers, but nothing too astronomical. Every now and then you'll get a John Carter from Mars type of thing.
Sure.
But it's a relatively rare phenomenon, right? Mm-hmm. And you get used to winning. You get used to, what we churn out is good. Mm-hmm. The audience eats the lunch. And then all of a sudden, again, now we're exposed to more content than ever. Now, classes who maybe didn't have the ability to make content can make content. Whether it's to the scale of these studios, you're still exposing your audience to a different voice. And you don't have an option for that because, again, It doesn't cost anything to make content anymore. So you're getting different voices, different storytellers being able to, share their visions. And so that element of it has changed. And you're putting out, you're running the same race. Everything that we put out is great. And all of a sudden you have an audience that goes, well, I actually don't like this. Mm-hmm. And so instead of going... And again, back in the day, if you had a failure like that, you would go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we fucked up. How do we fix this in the future? What didn't they like? Mm-hmm. What do we have to... Again, I'm not advocating for writing stories that need to be 100% fan service. I understand that there has to be certain story structures, and if you just listen to fans, you're going to get... That's just as messy as not listening to fans. But you have to get a pulse on what the people that are buying the content are telling you.
Right, but you have to look at it and say, okay, there's two paths. This is what the fans want. This is not what the fans want. Now, if you're smart, you're going to go down the path of what the fans want. Now, you don't have to give them everything that they're saying, because maybe some of that is absolutely stupid. But you have to take into consideration look at all the things that they do want and say, okay, I'm not doing that, but that I can do, and that'll work.
A good example is when X-Men first came out, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't have the X-Men outfits. Right. But they still were very close to a lot of the source material. Mm-hmm. So even though you don't, although, again, proven wrong with like Deadpool and Wolverine, even though you don't have Wolverine in the yellow spandex, it still worked. People still bought into it at the time. Mm-hmm. So you can go down the fan service route without having to, sort of give up everything that the studio wants to do as well. Like, you can go down that route, that path, and still be incredibly successful. It's just a balancing act. But when you go down the other path, very rarely are fans going to go, that's the one.
Right. Well, I mean, again, if to your example of X-Men, right? It's, okay, well, the fans want this. They want them to they want them to look exactly like the comic book character and also dress in the outfits of the comic book characters. And you could say, well, we'll make them look like them, but I don't want to do the outfits. Or you could say, you know what, we're going to make it so that they, don't look like them at all.
Right.
And they're not in the outfits. And when you do that, if that's the path you choose, zero success. If you do one of the two that the fans want, the fans will be you're still going to hear the fans not 100% because they want to see the outfits, but if they recognize the characters and the characters look like they're supposed to, you'll get that forgiveness of, I'd like to see them in their comic accurate outfit, but they look and act enough like them that I'm on board. I'm good. And you could have success that way. But if you say, you know what, I'm listening to none of it, we're doing the opposite, and then when it fails, sit there and say, well, the fans just aren't smart enough to understand what we did. We made a great show. The fans just didn't appreciate our greatness. But that's not going to get you anywhere, and that's a lot of what the studios are doing now.
Right. But again, for The Witcher, you had a property that worked on two different mediums, right? You chose to, and again, I don't know how much of it was Cavill or whatever, but he wanted to at least be video game. I don't think he was very book accurate, Geralt, but he wanted to be video game accurate, and that worked with the fans.
Yeah.
And, the less you listened to him, the more you went down that path, the more you said, I don't give a fuck what the audience is saying. I don't care what the fans are saying. I don't care what Cavill, who actually cares about the lore, is saying. I'm writing the story that I want to write. Fuck everybody else. And then the numbers take a nosedive. You can't, you can't sit there and scratch your head. In the past, if something like The Witcher failed to the level that it failed, especially where it was a hit at the beginning, the fucking studios would have been on that. But because of the content stream, because of the way that streaming has dictated, everything has to come out. There has to be a release. There's releases every single day. If you go on fucking Netflix, and you go to coming soon, every single day, there's something coming out. So there is content every single day.
Right.
And there's no time for introspection when you're at a breakneck speed to just churn the content out.
Right.
And you're never going to keep up with YouTube because, again, it doesn't cost there's millions and millions of creators on YouTube, and it doesn't cost them anything to make the content. So you're never going to be able to compete with them as far as amount of content coming out. So where you need to compete is your quality needs to be A tier. And right now it's not. You're just churning shit out, and you're not focusing on the quality. You're not taking the time and introspection to say, why did this work in two mediums but it failed when we got our hands on it? And I think those are sort of the elements of streaming that, because everything's churning out so fast, none of it feels special. It all feels like, okay, one and done. Maybe this one was good, but it all ends up in the bin at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, that's all that this content is. It becomes the dollar bin at Walmart. Everything, it was popular when it, possibly popular when it came out, and then in a couple months you find it in the dollar bin because people have moved on, and it's like, I'm not going to go back to that again. I've seen it, and it's not gonna resonate like some of the the IPs that are 40, 50, 60 years old at some point. All this stuff is just, it's good for a year. It's got shelf life now, and that's the biggest difference. It's just content. It's not something that resonates, doesn't stick. It's not going to remain in the zeitgeist for generations. It's just that month's content.
And this isn't isolated to just movies and television shows. This is happening in the gaming industry as well. When you used to buy a video game, you used to get the game. The game was done. It was complete. You bought your experience and you moved on. Now you have live service games that are constantly being updated.
Yeah.
There's seasons. There's battle passes. A lot of these games don't have an ending. They just want you to loop, because you have Fortnite that has incredible success, and you have Call of Duty, which but you're seeing cracks in the system, right? Call of Duty was releasing a game every year. Every year, like clockwork, there'd be a Call of Duty. And this last one, people really didn't connect with, and hopefully the studios are going to take a minute and go, these need to be memorable experiences. And when it's just a constant stream, constant updates, half-baked games, it feels like a product. It feels like a constant feed. It doesn't feel like a memorable experience. And that's not every game. Like I said, I'm playing the James Bond game. I haven't gotten through it yet, but so far I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this. Feels like, big set pieces, interesting story, things like that. It's but it's just interesting to see that it's not. This is an overarching problem with the amount of content that is coming out. It's not something that's isolated to movies. It's not something that's isolated to TV shows. It's affecting all content. It affects. Sure. It affects the video game industry, right? Again, half-baked games are getting brought out. You're getting DLCs that cost half as much as the game that are sometimes bullshit. It happens with music, too. Sure. A lot of these songs are soulless now, right?
Yeah, big
it's just
time.
4 fucking chords that everybody uses with some bullshit lyrics just to try to get that dopamine hit, and then it goes in the bin. So you're seeing it in all forms of media.
Yeah. You know what it's like? What it's like is when you have a decent dinner, right? You're in it at the moment. You're enjoying it. 3 days later, you don't even remember that dinner because it wasn't the greatest dinner you ever had.
Right.
It was good while you were eating it, but it wasn't memorable, right? It didn't last.
It's a lot of mid-tier dinners.
Right. So that's what entertainment is now. It's you might enjoy it at the moment. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But then in a couple weeks, a month, You don't even remember that. And if someone brings it up, you'd be like, oh yeah, I think I watched that, or I think I heard that song, or I think I might have played that game, because people aren't. It's not connecting at all. People just, like you said, it's a dopamine hit at the time you're doing it, and then it fades just as quickly.
All right, and then the last point for the breakdown is, I would say that audiences are and aren't burnt out. Mm-hmm. So let me walk you through that real quick. I think that people are overwhelmed with the amount of content that they have available to them. Okay? I think that just that statement alone can lead to burnout. Mm-hmm. I also think that the rate at which some stuff is coming out, the rate at which movies are coming out, can generate burnout. When you have a Marvel movie every 3 months, that's going to generate burnout.
Sure.
When you had a Marvel movie twice a year, that's not going to generate burnout.
Right.
When it takes 3 years for a TV show to come out, it's not that the audience is burnt out, it's that the audience has moved on. So there's elements of burnout, right? Oversaturation is going to cause burnout.
Yeah.
Because, one, nobody is going to be able to put that amount of content out and always have it be a banger. It's just not possible.
Right.
And that's what we saw with Marvel, is they went from 1 or 2 movies a year, and then on a big year we would have an Avengers, right? To 2 to 4 movies a year, 2 to 4 shows a year. Your audience does not want that much content, and you can't deliver quality when you're outputting that much content.
Yep.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
So your audience gets burnt out by that. It's not just overwhelmed because of everything is bad. Mm-hmm. No, it's oversaturation of a market or undersaturation of a market can lead to burnout or disinterest.
Right. And the other part of that too is, especially when you're talking about, the length in between things, is, studios have to understand that there is, I'm going to say about 20% of the people that watched season 1 were bandwagon hoppers who are on the trend. And they're gone when season 2 rolls around. They were just there because that was the trend at that time. They weren't actually fans.
That goes for bad shows too.
Sure, right? Any of it.
That goes for bad shows too. Like, people watched Velma season 1 because it was popular to dunk on it.
Right.
Nobody watched Velma season 2.
Right.
Nobody showed up for that.
No. And that's part of the problem, right? You're counting on an audience, part of your audience that you're counting on is not going to be there. That's like 20% that will not be there because you're not the trend anymore when season 2 came out. So you're already down. So you've got, the waiting of that 3 years. Maybe it's not as good as season 1. The bandwagon hoppers have moved on to the next thing. And that's why your audience is down so much. So,
but the other half of that is you can't build your stories for the trend hoppers.
Oh, absolutely not. You never do that.
And they do that a lot.
Right. That is the number one mistake that you could make, is worrying about the trend hoppers, because they're never going to be there for the next go around. It's just what they do. That's in their nature. You're not going to be the trend when it rolls around a second time. So if you're building your story around that, you're going to take a massive hit. And if the people that watched it that were actual fans, if they didn't really like the story, or they don't like the second story, they're going to say, yeah, you know what, it's not for me. And then they're going to be gone. And then if you put out a third season, that'll be the final one, because, you made it, again, you made it for nobody. You made it for the algorithm that you believe on social media is telling you who you should be catering this to. but that's not the real world audience. That's manufactured through, AI, basically.
Right. And I think the problem isn't that modern entertainment is bad, right?
Right. Some is, but...
Sure. But I think what the problem is that we never stop consuming it long enough for anything to actually matter.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't see that trend stopping anytime soon because of the way things are now.
All right. So that's the breakdown for this week. Let's move on to Off the Cuff. You want to go first or second this week?
I'll go first.
All right.
My love of Star Wars is only eclipsed by my hatred of Disney Star Wars. I hate Disney Star Wars so much that I can't even enjoy my love of Star Wars anymore. I don't want to see any more Star Wars. I want it to be done. I want it to end. I don't want any more product. The more you put out, the more you kill it, the further away the great Star Wars is.
It's interesting that you say that because we hear a lot of people, they use this derogatorily and they say, nobody hates Star Wars more than a Star Wars fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think to some degree, there's some truth behind that because it was a property that was so beloved that, I think Star Wars fans were good with what we had.
Mm-hmm.
We were good. The prequels weren't everybody's favorite, but they were tolerated, and more so as time went on.
Sure.
Everybody loves the original.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a lot of very interesting extended universe stuff out there.
Right.
Every now and then you'd get a game that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have the extended universe that was, around. And I think people really liked what was around.
Right.
And then Disney bought Star Wars, and there was that little spark of hope when it first happened.
Right.
A new hope, you might.
There you go.
You might argue.
Absolutely.
That we were going to get more Star Wars content, in that vein of what made us drawn to the original stuff that we loved.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, at least for like Force Awakens, that would, it didn't ring hollow at that point.
Right.
I think fans were like, oh, this is kind of, a remake of A New Hope. But, like, that's okay. We love A New Hope. Like, we get it. New audience, bring the kids in. You're telling basically the same story. But it worked.
Yeah.
And
I think it worked enough where people said, it's not great, but what else do you got? Like, okay, it's a jumping on point for
new fans.
The sequel trilogy.
Right.
It's not the best, but let's see where it goes.
Right. I get it. You want to bring on. I think what's funny about it, in retrospect, is that you wanted to bring on a new audience, and you used what brought the original audience. You used the same story that brought the OGs to bring on the new audience.
Right.
And people showed up. Showed up. It was very successful.
Sure, absolutely.
And then it went downhill from there, right? And I think what's interesting at this point is the property is so beaten into the dirt, right? That even when you release something like the new Mall show, very good. Very good. Doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter how
doesn't.
good it is. Because everything else and look, is Mando and Grogu the worst movie ever made? Probably not. Probably not.
No, probably not.
Even in the Star Wars universe.
No.
It's not enough.
Right.
It's not enough. You can't butcher this property the way that you did. You carved out every shred of meat that you could. It's a carcass at this point. You can't get anything else from it.
No.
You can keep trying. If you want to spend your money, try. But, to sit there and say, like I said, in a derogatory way, oh, Star Wars fans, nobody hates Star Wars as much as a Star Wars fan is. Yeah, it's true because we had something incredible.
Right. Something that has not been replicated since. in any, it hasn't.
Well, I mean, I'd argue that Lord of the Rings.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it reached that level. I'm not saying it's not. I think it's close. I'm just not sure. But
I get what you're saying to a degree, though, because there really wasn't anything like it at the time that existed.
Right.
And Lord of the Rings was kind of came in at a more established time for movies.
Yeah, and remember that's based off books that were already written.
Right,
you know what I mean? Star Wars is
books,
an original property.
No, I get what you're saying.
So I think that Lord of the Rings is close. I think it's below, but I think it's close. I think you could have a debate about it, and it would be a legitimate debate. I'll put it to you that way.
Right.
I think that Star Wars does eclipse it, but that being said, yeah, that would be the only thing that would be remotely close in the same conversation.
But I think what's interesting about the two, right, is that you're seeing the same thing happen to Lord of the Rings now.
Sure.
Is that they're trying to carve the carcass, and it's not working.
No.
It's not working. Like nobody is in for Rings of Power.
No. Not at all.
I don't see a lot of people like freaking out about this hunt for Gollum.
No one's even talking about it.
Right.
At all.
And that's the thing is like you with Star Wars or even with Lord of the Rings to sort of a different extent, you can tell stories within that universe and have it be very successful.
Sure.
Game of Thrones style. But you chose not to. You chose to tie it all to the Skywalker saga, and it has crashed and burned.
Well, you decided to tie it all to the Skywalker saga, and you also said that all that was before it was shit. Our Star Wars is better than your Star Wars, and we're going to, now that we own it, we're gonna defecate all over George Lucas's, and that's what you did, and you're paying the price for it. But to me, I'm just done with any more property. I would be more than happy to never see another property released with the Star Wars name. I don't want to see it go away. I want to see the original property remain, and those characters remain forever.
I'd like to see it stop.
Yeah.
I'd like to see content stop coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like for them to sell the property off.
Yep.
Get it out of their hands because they're not good stewards of it.
No.
And maybe in 10 years, I'd like someone to see if they can do something with it.
Sure.
But I think at this point, you tried, you failed miserably. You forced content down our throats. There needs to be a break now because it didn't work. It just did not work.
You took the greatest evergreen property in existence and killed it dead. Good job, Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. You really made a name for yourself. What do you got?
All right, so mine is I don't think binge watching improved television.
No,
I think it makes shows less memorable.
Agreed. Absolutely.
You used to watch a show over the course of 3 to 4 months. You would talk about every episode. Now you watch a show in 1 or 2 days. Maybe you talk about it for a week if it's good. Maybe. And then you move on immediately.
Mm-hmm.
With older shows that came out, episode at a time, it was in the zeitgeist. It was in people's mouths for months.
But the thing is, like, when you, Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Sunday night, right?
It was an event.
You knew on Sunday night you were going to watch, and you knew Monday morning you were going to talk about it. Now, you don't know when someone's going to watch it, right? Because, again, it drops, sure, but that doesn't mean you're going to... There's nothing that makes you have to go watch it the day it drops. So you might go watch it the day it drops, and I might not. And then you might say on Monday, if it dropped on a Sunday, on Monday, hey, do you watch it? No, I didn't get to it yet because I know it's there, and it's complete. So I'll get around, I'll get around to it. Because, again, the thing is, it's complete. So there's nothing to talk about because it's all there. There's no anticipation of what's coming next.
So that's not me advocating for like wiping out streaming libraries or anything. I just think that if you were to do weekly episodes of your shows, it would have a lot more staying power. Again, I think a good example of that in the modern time was Welcome to Derry. Mm-hmm. People were talking about that for months.
And the anticipation for when the next episode was coming out was high. There was a lot of online talk about it, and it was what happened in that episode and what we think is going to happen in the next episode. Well, you can't have that with binge watching because you know what happened in the next episode already. So you can discuss what happened in this episode, but you can't have that, I wonder if this is going to lead to this, and this is going to... You already know what it led to.
Yeah, so to me, binge watching is really, really a double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. I think it's really what's taken what makes television special and kind of ripped it apart.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool to have sort of shows that are already over and stuff available to stream. I think that gives it new life. That makes it available to a new audience. Mm-hmm. It makes it great to rewatch. All of that shit is tight.
Oh, yeah.
But where I think it fails is when you release 8 episodes all at once.
Yeah.
Even One Piece, if they did one a week, we would still be talking about it.
Right.
Instead of it being over in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agree.
So that's my cuff.
Yeah, good one.
All right. So let's get into the watch list.
Okay.
You want to go first?
You go first this time.
Let me, so I got 2.
Okay.
So the first one I caught, speaking of binging, is The Devil May Cry Season 2. So it's an animated...
It's a manga, right? Or an anime?
Yeah, so it's based off a game.
Okay,
that they turned into a manga. And Season 2 just dropped.
Okay.
Season 1 was just okay. I think they had trouble kind of formulating what sort of story they wanted to tell, but they kind of nailed the main character and they kind of nailed the feel of it all.
Okay.
So like it was enough to kind of push it into Season 2. Season 2 is fucking great.
Is it? Okay.
I think it's very, very good. Absolute stream it.
Okay.
Absolute stream it. I think that's the way to go. It's like 8 episodes, maybe 30, 35 minutes an episode. So, you got to settle in for it, but it's got good, it's well animated. It's got violence. It's got, action, everything you want out of that sort of thing. So I would say Devil May Cry Season 2, if you're on the fence because you saw Season 1 and you're like, it wasn't really for me, give Season 2 a shot. I think they've really... I don't think it's perfect, but I think they're heading in the right direction.
Nice.
And it looks like they're getting their 3rd season, and I think that'll be even cooler than what we got in Season 2.
Excellent.
The second one I watched, I went to the theater.
Oh, you did?
I did. And before I get into it, I just want to say $67
what?
To go to the theater.
Ugh.
Now, it was an IMAX showing.
Okay, all right, well.
But $67.
Wild.
It was 40 something, and then it was $18 for a drink and a popcorn.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So the second one I saw was Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's a see it, in my opinion.
Is it?
That's a see it. Go to the fucking theater and see that. Here's the thing. I did not like Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay? I didn't like it. I don't think they nailed it. There was no tournament. I thought a lot of the characters were very, paper thin and vanilla, which is saying a lot for a fighting game. But it's a 30-year-old fighting game, so there's a lot of lore.
Right.
I thought this one, it was a 2-hour movie. Flew by.
Really?
The pacing was great. The fight scenes were great. The action was great. It's not perfect. Again, there's things I don't like about it.
Okay.
But I would say, as far as Mortal Kombat movies go, it was fun.
Nice.
It was fun, and
that's what you want it to be.
Right. I don't need it to be this fucking inspiring thing. But yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
Cool. All right.
Those are my 2.
Nice. All right, I got 2 myself.
All right.
So both of mine are on streaming.
Okay.
And both of them are Tubi movies.
Oh,
So the first one I watched was a movie called Bye Bye Man. Have you seen that
I
one?
have seen the Bye Bye Man.
Okay. So I caught that, right? And I thought it was okay. I think if anybody has not seen it, I would say...
That's Jessica Biel, right?
No.
No?
No, there was no
Nobody
name.
famous in it?
No.
It's like you can't say his name or whatever. Yeah, okay.
I would say it's like the Candyman. If I had to,
Sure, like a dumbed down version
right,
of that.
like a sanitized, more like a PG-13 version of Candyman. Right, but you can't say his name, you can't think his name, or something bad's going to happen. He makes you see like visions of things that aren't really occurring, so he really messes with your head. I didn't think it was bad. It's again, these are Tubi movies, so they're pretty tight. But I thought it was okay. I thought it was, if you like horror movies, I think it's a decent horror movie.
Okay.
The other one I caught was called No Tears in Hell. Have you seen this one?
That I have not.
I don't even know what to say about this movie.
Oh.
So it's a kid and his mom.
Yep.
And they're very impoverished. And basically, what they do kind of is like they prey on like homeless, right? And the mom kind of sets it up, gets them to come back, and the kid ends up murdering them. But he doesn't just murder them. He murders them. Then he has sex with them.
Oh, nice.
And then they eat them.
Yeah, as you do.
So it's got all of it. It's got all of it.
Yeah, as you do. So,
yeah, he does it a few times, and then the mess up is the mom, and this was because they were abused. They had a stepfather, very abusive, sexually abusive, physically abusive. The mother couldn't take it anymore, gets the kid to kill the stepfather, and then he gets a hunger for it, right? And now he just wants to be a killer. And the mother is, she's like, hey, I've taken enough abuse. Fuck it. We're going to do that. So they were preying on homeless because, there was a rash of it and they wouldn't, they could get away with it, right? For the most part, there's no one looking for these people. The mistake was, she brought home two girls that were in from college visiting their parents.
Yeah, they went after someone that would be missed.
Right. And the mother was like, she helped with the groceries, right, to the door. And the mother's like, drop the groceries and go. Right. She was going to spare them, but the kid was there, opened the door. Too late. And the mother was like, yeah, you fucked up. Now,
is this a low-budget film? Or?
Not really.
Wow.
I mean, not really low budget. But then at the end, so, again, he kills them. They end up getting caught. They end up going to jail, right? But then at the end, it's a true story.
Yikes.
From Russia.
Yikes.
And it's like, that, like, what? That, like, I don't know how, I'm sure a lot of it is accurate and some of it.
Yeah, but there's probably a lot of Hollywood liberties. But those damn Ruskies, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, Jesus, so this was a Russian killer. I forget they had a name for it. I forget. But this movie is like, you gotta, if you go into it, you go into it
buckle
with
up.
Yeah, absolutely buckle up for that
right.
one.
So are they both streams?
So
though?
I would say I would give both of them stream it. Yes.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
So from both of us, both streams on both of those.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the watch list. We'll hit the post and then we'll call it. So we've been talking about how modern entertainment feels disposable and how everything moves so fast now. So here's our pulse for this week. What's the last piece of entertainment that actually stuck with you? Whether it's a song, whether it's a book, whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a video game. Let us know in the comments what the last piece of entertainment that you actually still think about or has actually stuck with you.
Yeah, or that means something to you in your life.
Let us know. All right, so that's the episode.
Nice.
Jim, as always.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got going on?
Yeah, just getting the art out. Stop by the social media pages, check out the art, drop a like, drop a comment, say hi. Love to communicate with the fans.
All right, everybody. So that's the episode. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. Just finished with Wicked Comic Con.
Yep.
Very successful. Thank you guys for showing up to that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
A little bit slower in the summertime. We get some other, we do some of the B2B stuff and everything in the summer. But if there's any cons you guys want to see us at in the New England area, let us know. We're always looking for new opportunities and things. And hit us up on that pulse. All right, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.